Title Shadowborne by Orville Mills. The city of New Avalon never truly sleeps. Towering skyscrapers pierce the heavens, their neon glow casting false daylight into the darkened streets below. Crime festers in the alleys, corruption pulses through the veins of its government, and the people cry out for justice. But justice is a fickle thing, and hope is often just another broken promise. Yet on the fringes of despair, a shadow rises. Justice isn't given. It is taken. A city in chains. Kieran Cole had never wanted to be a hero. Born into a world that saw his existence as a burden rather than a blessing, he learned young that survival meant being invisible. His father, a man he barely remembered, had been swallowed by the prison system, and his mother had worked 2 jobs just to keep them afloat. The weight of struggle made him tough, but also instilled in him a quiet rage, one he had learned to suppress. But fate has a way of disrupting expectations. It started the night his mother died. A drive-by shooting, a stray bullet, another casualty in an endless war the powerful pretended did not exist. He held her cooling body in his arms, numb with shock, until something else awakened inside him, a power lurking beneath his skin, waiting for the right moment. The moment came when he touched her lifeless hand. Darkness swelled around him, swallowing the room in an abyss. When it receded, he found himself different, stronger, faster, and with an ability that defied all logic, the power to manipulate shadows. He could feel them, hear them whisper, bending to his will like living extensions of his body. With the city in turmoil and his soul burning with vengeance, Kieran embraced his destiny. He became Shadowborne, the birth of a legend. The first time Kieran used his powers, it was an accident. He had been running from the police, guilty of nothing but existing in the wrong neighborhood at the wrong time. A spotlight caught him, and his heartbeat roared in his ears. Then the world darkened, and he melted into the shadows, vanishing from sight. The next time, it wasn't an accident. He spent weeks testing his abilities, pushing his limits. The shadows weren't just a cloak, they were an extension of his will. He could weave them into armor, create tendrils that lashed out like whips, even smother the light itself. He owned his fighting skills, using his agility and newfound strength to strike fear into those who preyed on the weak. Drug dealers, human traffickers, corrupt officials, New Avalon was drowning in filth, and Kieran was done watching it rot. He studied the city's underworld, memorized the players, and trained his newfound abilities. He could slip through the darkness like a ghost, strike with the force of a phantom storm, and leave behind only the echo of his warning. They called him a myth, a whisper, a nightmare for the wicked. But Shadowborne was real, and he was just getting started. Enemies in the light. The city's elite didn't take kindly to their plans unraveling. The Syndicate, New Avalon's true power, had controlled the city for decades. Politicians were their puppets, police their enforcers, and the people their cattle. But Shadowborne was an anomaly, a force they could not buy or break. Then came Solomon Vance, the city's self-proclaimed kingmaker, a billionaire with a bottomless reach, his hands dipped into every criminal enterprise imaginable. Vance saw Kieran not as a threat, but as an opportunity. "Join me," he offered, sipping a glass of aged bourbon. "With your power and my influence, we could shape this city into something greater." Kieran's answer was simple. He shattered the glass, wrapped the shadows around himself, and disappeared into the night. Shadows in motion. Kieran moved through the city like a phantom, his presence felt but never seen. He struck with precision, unraveling criminal enterprises piece by piece. Each night, a new enemy fell, their operations dismantled in the cover of darkness. But the Syndicate was learning. They adapted, security tightened, mercenaries were hired, and the police increased their presence. Vance was no longer offering deals, he was sending assassins. One night, as Kieran took down a trafficking ring near the docks, he found himself face to face with a new adversary, Spectre, a mercenary with cybernetic enhancements and a past as dark as Kieran's. Spectre moved like a ghost, countering Kieran's shadow, weaving with eerie precision. "You are not the only one who thrives in darkness," Spectre growled, launching a series of rapid strikes. Their battle was a blur of fists and flickering shadows, neither gaining the upper hand. Kieran had never met someone who could match his speed until now. He barely escaped, vanishing into the night, but the message was clear. The war had escalated. The rise of a rival. Spectre wasn't just an enforcer, he was a statement. A message from Vance that Kieran was not untouchable. The mercenaries struck back, targeting allies, dismantling Kieran's safe havens, and leaving a trail of destruction. Kieran needed a new strategy. He sought out old connections, people who knew the city's underbelly as well as he did. Among them was Maya Reed, a brilliant hacker and former investigative journalist who had nearly exposed the syndicate before they silenced her career. She had reasons of her own to take Vance down. With Maya feeding him intel and his own skills sharpened, Kieran took the fight to a new level. He began striking syndicate operations with surgical precision, cutting off their funding, exposing their hidden dealings, and turning their own paranoia against them. But Vance was prepared. He unleashed more than just assassins, he released the truth. Leaked footage of Shadowborne's battles painted him as a violent menace. The city, once quietly cheering for its vigilante, now debated whether he was a hero or a villain. The police intensified their efforts. The syndicate doubled down. Spectre was closing in, and Kieran Cole was running out of time. The war rages on. New Avalon was no longer just on fire, it was burning from within. The city's criminals weren't backing down, and neither was Shadowborne. But now the game had changed. The syndicate had declared all-out war, and they had warriors of their own. Justice wasn't given. It was taken, and Kieran Cole was ready to take it all.